Hi, I'm Bart from Satoshi Radio, and today we're going to take our Bitcoin security to the absolute highest level. We're going to set up a multisig wallet using the SeedSigner. We've already laid a good foundation in the last few episodes. We've practiced with seeds, passphrases and backups. We've tried out the TreasureSafe 5, tested the new Coldcard Q and used various software wallets. All those setups had one thing in common, at least in my YouTube tutorials. They were single signature wallets. Today we're taking the step to multiple signatures, in other words, multisig. We're going to create the seed phrases on the SeedSigner. We'll also need to store those seed phrases properly, as the SeedSigner forgets the seed as soon as you turn it off. For this tutorial I'm using the seed templates that SeedSigner has on their GitHub. I'll put the link on the screen now and I'll put it in the description as well. You can either write down the 12 words or create a SeedQR. The SeedQR is handy because you can scan it with devices like a Coldcard Q or with the SeedSigner. That's much faster than typing in your 12 words. There are also steel options for storing your seed. I personally like the Trezor Keep Metal, but you can't store a QR code on it. Luckily, there are also plenty of metal QR backups available, like this one. The great thing about a 2 out of 3 multisig setup is the extra robustness. You're no longer dependent on a single backup. If one of your seeds is unexpectedly lost, stolen or damaged, you can still manage and move your Bitcoin with the other two. This significantly reduces the risk of a single point of failure. Alright, let's grab the SeedSigner and turn it on. We land in the main menu. There we have 4 options: Scan, Seeds, Tools and Settings. We choose Seeds. The next menu is called Load a Seed. Normally, you would scan or enter your existing seed here. But we haven't created a seed yet, so we can't do that. That's why we choose the 4th option, Create a Seed. In the next screen, we get a few options for creating a seed, by taking a picture or by rolling dice. The purpose of the picture isn't to take a nice photo. Instead, it reads the noise from the camera sensor. Every camera sensor has a small random imperfections and variations in its pixels, which is an excellent source of unpredictability, or entropy. By taking a picture of this, the SeedSigner creates a unique and completely random starting point for generating your seed phrase. You can even cover the lens if you want, the sensor noise will still be there. We click on New Seed, with the photo icon next to it. In the next screen, we can take a picture. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what you take a picture of. After taking the photo, we have to choose whether we want to create a 12-word seed or a 24-word seed. I'm choosing 12 words. Although a 24-word seed is theoretically more secure than a 12-word seed, cracking a 12-word seed is already completely impossible with the current technology. Next to that, I think the main reason to choose 12 words in a multisig setup is to reduce complexity and the chance of human error. Correctly backing up 3 sets of 12 words is easier and less error-prone than 3 sets of 24 words, obviously. The security of multisig comes from the fact that an attacker needs to get their hands on multiple seeds, not so much from the extreme length of each individual seed. In the next screen, we see a warning. Keep your seed to yourself and keep it offline. Get that into your head, guys. This is really important. So if you understand that, so we are going to back up our seed offline on paper, never online. We keep it to ourselves. If we understand that, then and only then we click on I understand. Next, we see the first 4 words of our seed. In our case, quit, sport, defy, buffalo. We write these words down on the backup card. We do the same for the next 4 and the last 4 words, so we have all 12 written down in the correct order. After we've done this, we click Next. We can now verify our backup. I strongly recommend doing this, so you can be sure you've written everything down correctly. So we click on Verify. It asks for the 9th word. In our case, that's jelly. So we select that. We do the same for the other words it asks for. After we've entered all words correctly, we get to the Backup Verified screen. We click on OK to continue. The next screen says Finalize Seed. Here we can save the seed's fingerprint and add a passphrase. I personally find it useful to write the fingerprint down with the seed so I can identify it easily later in the process. So in this case I'm writing 102A66EB on the backup card. We are not adding a passphrase. In a multisig setup, where the security comes from physically separating your keys, a passphrase mainly adds complexity in my opinion. The risk of you making a mistake with 3 different passphrases is much greater than the little extra security it provides. So we'll skip it and click Done. After this, if we click on the seed in the menu, the option Backup Seed appears. We click on that. We can now bring up the seed words we just saw, but we can also export the seed as a SeedQR code. That's what we're going to do. So we click on Export as SeedQR. We now get the choice between the standard QR code, 25 by 25, or the compact QR, 21 by 21. I've used the compact QR backup cards, but you can also print the standard version. The difference between the standard and the compact QR is the data density. The compact QR was specifically developed to store the same 12 or 24 words in a smaller format. This makes it easier to stamp or engrave the QR code on a smaller surface, like metal cards. For the paper backup we're making now, it doesn't functionally matter which one you choose. We get a warning. SeedQR is your private key. The QR code is your seed phrase, so only scan it with your SeedSigner, not with your phone or any other device that has been connected with the internet. If you understand that, again, very important, we click I understand. In the next screen we see an overview of the QR code, divided into 9 sections. The top left section A1, the top right section A3, and the bottom left section C1 are already filled in. So we have to fill the other sections ourselves. We click on Begin 21 by 21. And indeed, the first section, A1, is already filled in. We use a joystick to move right into section A2. We can now see exactly which squares in the QR code we need to color in. We can use a black marker, but a pen is fine too. Work slowly and carefully. Take your time with this. After we finish section A2, we move 1 square right again. This is section A3. That is the one that is pre-filled, so we continue to B3, the section right below A3. We fill this one in as well. We continue this way, B2, B1, then C1 is pre-filled again, so we move to C2 and finish with C3. Once we filled everything in, we click the joystick to go to the next screen. Here we can verify our QR code. We click Confirm SeedQR. The camera will turn on and we can scan our fresh SeedQR. If everything goes well, you will see a success message. Your transcribed SeedQR successfully scanned and yielded the same seed. This means that the seed in the device is exactly the same as the QR code we've put on paper. Great, that's exactly what we want. We click on OK to continue. Alright, the first seed is done. 2 more to go. But before we do that, a quick summary. If we go back to the main menu and click on seeds, we now see 1 seed listed. The one with the fingerprint 102A66EB. That's the seed we just created and it's still in the SeedSigner's memory. Alright, time to put our SeedSigner and our newly created seed to the test. I'll click the power icon in the top right and then restart. Now we can unplug the power cable. What would happen if I turn it back on now? I plug the power cable back in, go to Seeds via the main menu and there we see nothing. The seed that was just there is gone. And that's exactly how the SeedSigner works. It's a stateless device. Every time you want to make a transaction, you have to load the seeds again. Luckily, we made the backup, the SeedQR. and loading the seeds is a piece of cake. We click on Scan a SeedQR and scan our QR code from the backup card we just made. And there it is again, the seed with the fingerprint 102A66EB. The seed is now successfully loaded. We could now use the seed to sign a transaction or generate a receive address. That's called a single signature wallet. But that's not what we're going to do. We are going to create a multisig wallet. We need a second and a third seed. So that's what we're going to do. We repeat this process for the second and third seed. I won't show that whole process again, but here you can see the 3 complete backups on the table. You recognize the first one, again with fingerprint 102A66EB, but also 2 new seeds. C2 has a fingerprint 973244FF, and C3 that has a fingerprint FB9A815D. Now that we've created the 3 seeds, it's time to load them all onto the SeedSigner so we can create the multisig wallet. We start the SeedSigner and navigate back to the Seeds menu. On that screen, we click Scan a SeedQR, like I just showed before when we tested our first seed. Then we scan the first seed again because we restarted our SeedSigner, the one with the fingerprint 102A66EB. The SeedSigner confirms a successful scan. We click Done and use the back button in the top left to return to the main menu. If we now navigate to Seeds again, we indeed see the first seed listed under the In-Memory Seeds heading. Time to add the second one. We click Load the seed again and scan our second SeedQR. We see that this seed has also loaded successfully. We recognize the fingerprint from before, 973244FF. Perfect. We click Done and go back again. Time to load seed number 3. This time we'll use a handy shortcut. From the main menu we click directly on the big Scan button. This allows us to scan the SeedQR immediately, without having to go to the Seeds menu first. The fingerprint of the seed number 3 appears on the screen. FB9A815D. That's correct, we've seen that before, so that's exactly what we want. We click Done and go to the Seeds menu for the last time. We now see that there are 3 in-memory seeds, exactly like we wanted. Always double check that the fingerprints match the backups you've made. In our case, they do. Time to finally create a multisig wallet. Besides a hardware wallet, you always need a software wallet. With a software wallet, like Sparrow wallet, you connect to the network and you can view your balance and prepare transactions. I almost always use Sparrow wallet. You can download from the link that is shown on the screen right now. After you've installed software, it looks like this. We have 3 options: New wallet, Open wallet, or Import wallet. In this case, we choose New wallet. Next, we have to give the wallet a name. I will choose SeedSigner Multisig. Then we go to the settings screen for the wallet we just created. There are a few important things that we need to set up correctly here, starting with the policy type. It defaults to single signature, but of course we want a multi-signature wallet. So we select that option. For script type, we have 3 choices. We'll leave this on native SegWit. Now that we've chosen multi-signature, a new option appears on the screen. First, we see that Sparrow suggests a 2 out of 3 setup by default. In the top right, under co-signers, we see the policy is set for a total of 3 key stores, with 2 required to sign. A key store in this context is the source of our public keys, so our SeedSigner with one of the loaded seeds. You can make this as crazy as you want. You could, for example, opt for a 4 out of 5 setup. That would mean 5 key stores, 5 seeds, with 4 required to sign a transaction. For this tutorial, we'll stick with the most common setup, 2 out of 3. I think that strikes a good balance between risk and reward, complexity and security. Now that the settings are correct, it's time to add our key stores. Let's start with key store 1. We click on air-gapped hardware wallet. because that's what our SeedSigner is. And in the list that appears, we scroll down until we see the SeedSigner and click on the Scan button. Sparrow will now open the webcam. We now need to bring up the necessary information on the SeedSigner itself. This information consists of the extended public key, also known as XPUB, the fingerprint and the derivation path of the key store. Let's grab the SeedSigner. Since we didn't turn it off, all 3 seeds are still in its memory. We click the first seed and choose Export XPUB. In the next menu we choose Multisig, then Native SegWit, and finally Sparrow. We get a warning and click on I understand and see a summary of the data we're about to export. Finally, we click on Export XPUB. The SeedSigner now displays an animated QR code. We can scan that with our laptop's webcam. It's important to realize we are not exporting the secret seed phrase here. We are only exporting the public key, the extended public key, the XPUB. So it's safe to scan this QR code with your laptop. After scanning the QR code, we see that key store 1 in Sparrow has been filled in. We see SeedSigner as the label, and the master fingerprint, derivation path and XPUB match what we just saw on the device. Perfect. I will just change the label to SeedSigner 1 for a little bit more clarity. We repeat this process for the second key store. At key store 2, we again click on air-gapped hardware wallet, find the SeedSigner and click on Scan again. On the SeedSigner itself, we navigate back, but now choose the second seed with the fingerprint 973244FF. We go through the exact same steps until we get the QR code. We scan the QR code with our laptop and the information for the second key store appears in Sparrow. You can guess what we're going to do next. Load key store number 3. On the SeedSigner, select the seed with the fingerprint FB9A815D. Export the XPUB and scan the QR code into key store 3 on the Sparrow wallet on your laptop. If we now check the key stores, we see that everything is correct. The 3 fingerprints, once again 102A66EB, 973244FF, and lastly FB9A815D match our 3 backups perfectly. Now that all key stores are successfully loaded, we click Apply in the bottom right. Sparrow asks if we want to add a password. This password only encrypts this local wallet file on your computer. Since the file contains no private keys, I personally don't think that a password is necessary, so I choose no password. The next step is extremely important: making a backup of the Multisig wallet configuration. Sparrow explains it itself. To restore this wallet, you need at least 2 seed phrases and all of the XPUBs, so 3 extended public keys. This might sound complex, but in principle it's fairly simple. We've just created a Multisig wallet by combining 3 extended public keys. Each XPUB extended public key is derived from a unique seed. If you lose one seed, you can no longer generate its corresponding XPUB yourself. Although you can still sign transactions with the remaining 2 seeds, you can no longer restore the wallet configuration itself without that third XPUB. The solution is simple. Make a backup of the wallet configuration. This file contains all the public information needed to reconstruct the wallet. The 3 extended public keys, the fingerprints, and the derivation path. This is also known as the BSMS backup, Bitcoin Secure Multisig Setup. Crucially, this file contains no seeds or private keys. Therefore, it can be safely stored digitally, for example in your password manager. But you can also print it out and store it somewhere in your home. If this file falls into the wrong hands, someone could view your transaction history. That's a privacy risk, but your Bitcoin remains safe and cannot be spent. So, we click on Save PDF. When we open the PDF, we see a large QR code and below it the same data in text format, just a regular string. You can clearly see all the XPUBs and fingerprints in there. Again, and I can't stress this enough, save this backup properly. As I said, I would recommend to store it in an encrypted password vault like 1Password or Bitwarden, or as a printed document in a safe place. The wallet is now completely ready to go. We can create receive addresses, see our balance, and send transactions. But first, to prove that our backup works, we're now going to do something exciting. We're going to completely delete the wallet. Of course, I'm deleting the wallet for a reason. I want to show you how to perform a wallet restore and to show you how important that configuration file, that PDF that we just saved is. You need to do this, for example, if you get a new laptop and need to load your Multisig wallet into Sparrow again. You can perform a restore in two ways. If you still have all three seeds, you can simply repeat the process from the previous part of the video. You can just load the three key stores one by one again, and Sparrow will automatically recognize that they belong together and open your existing wallet. But what if you lost one of the three seeds? Then you can no longer follow that procedure. You will have to use the wallet configuration backup that we just saved as a PDF. I'll show you how that works in practice. First, we delete our wallet. In Sparrow, we go to the File menu and click Delete Wallet. Sparrow asks if we're sure. We click on Yes. And it's gone. We're now back at the Sparrow start screen. To restore the wallet with our backup, we choose Import Wallet. In the next screen, we select the option to scan a QR code. Again, the PDF that we created is a BSMS backup. This is a standardized universal configuration for multisig wallets. It's not a Sparrow specific backup file. That's why we use a general import function. We scan the large QR code from the PDF with our webcam. Sparrow asks us to name the wallet. I will call it SeedSigner Multisig, just like I did before, and we will skip the password option. And will you look at that? The wallet is restored instantly. We can see in the Key Stores tab that all three XPubs and fingerprints have been loaded correctly. We now have full access to our wallet again and can view the transaction history and prepare transactions. Alright, time to use the wallet. We'll start at the beginning, receiving Bitcoin. For that, we need to create a receive address. This is very simple. You don't need your hardware wallets or seeds to create a receive address. You can do it directly from Sparrow because Sparrow already has all the public information needed to create a receive address. In the menu on the left, we click Receive. Sparrow immediately shows us a fresh, unused receive address. We copy this address because this is what we'll use to receive our first Bitcoin into this wallet. Most of the Bitcoin I use for daily spending is in a Lightning wallet. A handy trick to quickly move Bitcoin from the Lightning network to on-chain is by doing a submarine swap. I often use Boltz exchange for this. For a small fee, you can easily swap between Lightning and on-chain there. So we go to the Boltz website, and once there we will switch the direction of the swap. After all, we want to go from Lightning to on-chain. I'll enter that I want to swap 50,000 Satoshis. Then I paste the receive address we just copied from Sparrow. Once everything is filled in, we click on Create Atomic Swap. Boltz now generates a Lightning invoice. This is a QR code that we need to pay, or scan and pay, with a Lightning wallet. I will use the Strike app for that. Scan the code and pay the invoice. Done. As soon as the Lightning payment is complete, Boltz will send an on-chain transaction to our multisig address. We can follow this transaction in the mempool. I use the website mempool.space for that. At the time I made the swap, the mempool was pretty much empty, and it still is, unfortunately, so the transaction should be included in a block relatively quickly and get confirmed. While we're waiting for the transaction, we can do something else useful. Import the multisig wallet onto our mobile phone. Because a laptop is fun, but I always have my mobile phone with me, so maybe that's easier. This not only allows for us to check our balance, but also to prepare and sign transactions using our SeedSigner. For this, I use the Nunchuk wallet. Personally, I'm also a fan of Blue Wallet, but I've experienced that the SeedSigner sometimes has trouble with the QR codes that Blue Wallet generates. With Nunchuk, I never encountered this problem. After you've downloaded the app, we open it. You can see that I already have a few wallets from previous tutorials. To add a new one, we click the plus icon in the top right. Then we choose Recover Wallet at the bottom. And then we choose Recover using QR code. We grab our BSMS backup again and scan the large QR code from the PDF. The app asks us to name the wallet. I will choose SeedSigner Tutorial. Immediately after, we see that the wallet has been imported. The cool thing is that the transaction that we just made via Boltz is visible right away. That's not strange, it's the same wallet, but it's still pretty cool. The 50,000 sats are on their way. The status, pending confirmation, indicates that we are still waiting for the transaction to be included in a block. We are still floating around in the mempool. If we look at the configuration via View Wallet Config, we see that the three keys, the equivalent of Sparrow's key stores, have a generic name. Let's clean this up by also importing the public keys of our SeedSigners into Nunchuk. We close this screen and click on Keys in the main menu at the bottom. Here you can see an overview of all the keys I already imported in Nunchuk. We click the plus icon in the top right to add a new key. In the menu that appears, we choose SeedSigner. We give the key a name. I will start with SeedSigner 1 and scan QR. Now we grab the SeedSigner again. This is exactly the same process as we did before with Sparrow. We navigate to the loaded seeds, click the first seed and choose Export XPub. We select Multisig and native SegWit. In the last menu, instead of Sparrow, we now choose Nunchuk. We scan the QR that appears with our phone with the Nunchuk app. We repeat this exact same process for the second and third seed, which we'll name SeedSigner 2 and SeedSigner 3 in the Nunchuk app. After that's done, we have all three keys neatly named in the keys list. If we now go back to our SeedSigner tutorial wallet and click on View Wallet Config, we'll see that Nunchuk has automatically updated the names. Perfect, exactly what we want. Back to our transaction, let's see if it's included in a block. And yes, it is. Our transaction has been included in block 899918. In the wallet, in Nunchuk, we can see that the label has changed from pending confirmation to one confirmation. That means that the Bitcoin is officially ours and we can spend it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Because receiving Bitcoin in a Multisig wallet is easy. It's basically the same as any other wallet. But sending, that's the real test. You need to sign with 2 out of the 3 keys before you can send a transaction. We go back to the wallet and click Send. Here we enter how much Bitcoin we want to send and to what address. I'll choose an amount equivalent to $10 and paste the address of another wallet I have. I like to set the transaction fee myself, so I click on Customize Transaction and select Manual Fee Rate. I will choose 3 sats per VByte because we just saw in the mempool that is a good rate for a quick confirmation. We click Continue and if all the info is correct, we click on Confirm and Create Transaction. Now the real work begins. We have to sign the transaction with our SeedSigner. To make the process as realistic as possible, I've turned off the SeedSigner again. So the seeds have been wiped from the memory. This means we have to scan the correct seed for each signature. To show that the order doesn't matter, I will start with seed number 2, the one with fingerprint 973244FF. On the SeedSigner we go to Seeds, click on Scan a SeedQR and scan the backup. Alright, the seed is now loaded into the SeedSigner. Now we need to send the transaction data from Nunchuk to the SeedSigner. This is done using a so-called PSBT, or partially signed Bitcoin transaction. The easiest way to understand this is to think of it as an official contract that needs 2 signatures. Nunchuk has just drafted that contract for us with all the details in it. What we're going to do now is send this unsigned contract via a QR code to the first signer, our SeedSigner of course, with Seed2 loaded into it. Here's how we do it. In Nunchuk, we click on Sign next to SeedSigner 2 and then Export Transaction. The QR code appears. On the SeedSigner, we click Scan PSBT. The scanning might take a moment, but the progress bar helps to see how far in the process you are. Once the PSBT is loaded, we can review the transaction on the secure screen of the SeedSigner. If everything looks good, we click Approve PSBT on the final screen. The SeedSigner now applies its digital signature. Next, we have to send this PSBT back to Nunchuk. The SeedSigner displays a new QR code. On the phone, we click Import Signature and scan the code. And look, we now see a check mark next to SeedSigner 2. The transaction, or the contract as we named it, is partially signed. One more signature to go. I will choose the third seed. We load the backup of seed 3 onto the SeedSigner. Then we have to scan the PSBT again. Fun fact, this is no longer the original unsigned transaction. This is the PSBT that already has a signature from seed 2 added to it. The signatures are cumulative. So in Nunchuk we click Sign next to SeedSigner 3. Export the transaction and scan it with the SeedSigner. We go through the review process again. We check the amount, the fee, the change and the full receiving address. Everything is correct. So we click Approve PSBT. The transaction has now been signed for the second time. We send the signature back to Nunchuk by clicking Import Signature on the phone and scanning the QR code. And there you have it. The second check mark appears. The transaction is now signed by enough keys and is ready to be sent. All that's left is to click Broadcast Transaction in Nunchuk. The transaction is now sent to the Bitcoin network and appears in our overview with the status pending confirmation. Now we just have to wait for a miner to pick it up and put it into a block. And that seems like the perfect moment to wrap up this tutorial. This has been an intense but hopefully super valuable session. We've gained a huge amount of knowledge from securely creating seeds with the SeedSigner and setting up the Multisig wallet in Sparrow and Nunchuk, to receiving Bitcoin and finally securely sending it from your mobile phone using the Nunchuk wallet. As you've seen, Multisig can be quite complex. That's why my most important piece of advice is practice. Recreate this exact setup that I showed you in this video. Put a small amount of Bitcoin on it. $50, $20 is perfect. And practice sending and, more importantly, restoring the wallet. Make sure you have the process completely down before you consider securing a larger portion of your Bitcoin this way. You don't want to mess up when there is serious money on the line. Do you have other questions about this process, or are there other topics you would like to see explained in these videos? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully until the next time. Thank you for watching. See ya later. Ciao.